Don't mind the fact that I look kind of rough in this video, but today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the 9 books that I read in March and April. Since I didn't read a lot of books in either of those months, I just decided to do like a wrap up for both the months together. I might not have a ton to say about the March books because they're not like as fresh in my mind, but without further ado, let's get straight into the video. I actually don't have the physical copy of a lot of these books for some reason, but I'll just put like pictures on the screen of the ones I don't have. The first book I read in March was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I gave this book a 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. This follows a love story. This is kind of like a coming of age romance novel about a girl named Autumn, I think, and a guy named Finn, and they just kind of keep getting like pulled apart, and they have been like best friends since childhood. But Finn has a girlfriend and I think Autumn has a boyfriend at the beginning of it, but Autumn has always kind of had a thing for Finn, so we basically follow their story. And then also something really sad happens at the end of this book. It basically tells you what happens at the end of the book in like the first chapter, so then you know what's gonna happen the whole time, and when it does happen it's so sad. And I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to spoil it, but this is a really sad book. Then we have How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories, and this is a little picture book that goes with the Cruel Prince series, and I enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. It wasn't like a 5 stars because it was just like a little picture book. It had like short stories about the Cruel Prince type of world. So if you haven't read the Folk of the Air series, which is like the Cruel Prince, the Wicked King, and then the Queen of Nothing, I highly recommend it. It is a really good series, and I read it in February and January, I think. I guess I just wanted to make myself cry because the next book I read was also really sad, and that was A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. And this book is about Rune and Poppy, and Poppy and Rune have been best friends since childhood, and then Rune moves away for a few years, and after Rune moves away, Poppy just kind of cuts off contact with him for some reason that we don't know why, and then Rune moves back to the hometown, and Poppy like isn't talking to him, and Poppy like won't talk to him, and we don't know why, and we're trying to figure that out, and they have like a romance that starts to like rekindle again. This book is also really sad. I don't know why. I just wanted to see myself in pain, I guess. This book is one of the saddest books I've read, and I really enjoyed it. However, it is written very young adult like, so I would recommend this if you're like 12, 13, 14, 15. But if you're older, you might not enjoy it as much, but you also might, I don't know. But just like go into it knowing that it is written for a bit of a younger audience. But I still really enjoyed this book. The last book that I read in March was The Girls in the Stilt House by Kelly Muskian, and I gave this book 2 stars. To be honest, it's more of like a 1.5 stars. I really did enjoy this book. I don't know why I picked it up, to be honest. It's like a little mystery book, and I don't know why I went into this because I had heard it was compared to Where the Crawdads Sing, and I really didn't like Where the Crawdads Sing. Oh, there's a lizard outside. Oh. Anyways, but so I don't know why I thought I would like this, but I really didn't. So now I know that I don't like anything in this type of genre, like historical fiction, mystery type of vibe in the South. Both Where the Crawdads Sing and this book have that. So if you did like Where the Crawdads Sing, I would recommend this book for you because I did find it very similar. It's about 2 girls that basically find each other and their friendship, but then they learn that like they're connected in ways they would have never thought about before. And I'm probably gonna get rid of this book. I didn't like it. So I don't have this book either, but then I read The Hawthorne Legacy, which is the second book in the Inheritance Games trilogy. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars. It's probably more of like a 3.75 to be honest. To me, I find that this series is good, but I think it's a little bit overhyped. Like everyone is like raving about it. I think it's like a good solid series, but I don't think it's like anything insane, so I probably would like bump my rating down a little bit if I'm thinking about it now. I can't really explain the second book because it is the second in a series, so anything that happens in this book is going to be kind of a spoiler for the first book. But if you don't know about the series, it's basically a young adult mystery series, and it's about this girl, Avery Grams, who inherits all this money from this guy she has never met, and then she goes to live with his family, and there's all these secrets and stuff like that. Like, how did he know her? How is she linked to them? Why didn't the guy's grandsons get the money, and why did she get the money? And then there's also a little bit of a love triangle between her and 2 of the grandsons. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid book and a pretty solid series. I'm going to try to read the next book of it in May. Then I listened to the audiobook of a new favorite book, and that is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. This book was incredible. It is a memoir, and I've actually never read a memoir before. This was my first one, and I had a really good experience with it. It basically recounts Dolly's life and everything she has learned about love from growing up. And it's kind of her life story, but mainly the parts that focus on love, and not even romantic love, but like romantic love, and then also friendships and family, like all that type of love. And it's so good seeing how her mind has matured from what she thinks about love and how she thinks about it. And this was such a good book, and her life is just so interesting to read about. Like, I felt like I was reading a fiction novel almost with how interesting her life was, and I really want to read her other books. I know she has another memoir, I think, called Dear Dolly, so I want to read that one soon too. But I really enjoyed this book and I highly recommend it, and now I want to read more memoirs. Then I read Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, and I read this for school, and this is about a girl named Sam who has OCD, and she kind of lets it like control and dictate her whole life, and she's with like a really toxic friend group. But then she finds this thing called the Poets Corner, which it's like a group of kids at her school that all love writing poetry, and she finds that like poetry is a really good release for her OCD, and she makes really good friendships through that. And this also has a big plot twist at the end that I did not see coming, and it has a little bit of romance in it. This is very, I would also say this book is very young adult, so it's written definitely for like a younger teen audience, but I still really enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. It's like not focusing on the camera because it's like white and the background's kind of white, but I really enjoyed this book and I highly recommend it. I definitely think it helped me learn a lot more about what OCD is actually like, and you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm like such a neat freak, I have OCD, but like that's not really what OCD is. So if you want to learn more about that, I'd recommend this book, and it's pretty quick paced and good. Then I read The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and this book I gave this book 2.5 stars. I really wanted to enjoy this book, and it wasn't bad, like really bad per se, but it was just not the best, to be honest. So it's about this girl named Alice, and her mom disappears, and she thinks her mom has been taken to her grandma's estate, which is the Hazelwood, and her grandma was kind of like a bit of a eccentric woman who like wrote a bunch of stories and stuff like that. And she goes to like the Hazelwood to try to find her mom, and she gets like sucked into this place called the Hinterland. I thought it was okay. It's kind of like an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I probably will not be reading the second book in the series. I haven't decided yet. It might get better, I don't know. But I do love the story of Alice in Wonderland, but to me this book was just a little bit too confusing, but it definitely wasn't like bad per se. But if you do love Alice in Wonderland and like Alice in Wonderland retellings, I would recommend this book for you to at least try it out. Also, like, look how pretty the cover is. I just think that's so pretty. I don't know why. I love the color scheme. But yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this book. So that is The Hazelwood. Okay, and then the final book that I read in April was actually a reread, and that was Daisy Jones and the Six. So I had read Daisy Jones and the Six about a year ago, I think, and I read it in audiobook form actually, so I didn't physically read the book. And I love the audiobook. I gave it 5 stars, but I wanted to like actually read the book and annotate it, because I remember when I listened to the audiobook there were so many quotes that I just like wanted to save, but there was no way to do that. So I had a friend give me the physical copy. I don't know if you can see, but I completely annotated it. Also, let me know if you want to see like a how I annotate video, because I love annotating. But I gave this book 5 stars again. I love this book. This book took me a while to get through just because I was reading a ton of other books at the same time, but once I like actually sat down, I finished it. It's about a rock band in the 70s called Daisy Jones and the Six. Daisy Jones is like this really famous like feminine woman figure, and then the Six is a rock band, and she decides to like pair up with the band so then they can like both go big, and it kind of tells the band's story and all the drama that unfolds in it. And this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't know if I said that, but all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books are so good. It has like a little bit of romance in it. All the characters are kind of morally gray, which I really enjoy when characters are morally gray and they're not like perfect. But yeah, if you have not read this book, I definitely would give it a try. And a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books don't sound like appealing to me. Like I would be like, why do I want to read about a rock band? Like that doesn't interest me. But just the way she writes her books are so good. I would definitely classify this as like literary fiction. but it's really good and I highly would recommend it. So those are all the books that I read in March and April. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!